On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels did that thing last night where they face an aging pitcher and make him look like a Hall of Famer, and it was frustrating. So when is Zach Neto coming back? We need him in this lineup, and we need him to hit fifth, right? And we're also going to talk about what the scouts are saying about Kyren Paris' new swing. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's cold weather, and it's cold in here, and it's cold. Those Angels bats, just so cold. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. One of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You can download their app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, every single weekday, talking Angels baseball with you. It's our fourth season as the host of Locked On Angels. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be talking ball with you. On today's show, we need Zach Neto back so bad. We need Neto yesterday, right, Mike? And so we're going to be talking about when is he coming back. We'd love to see that. What are the scouts saying about Kyren Paris and his new swing? We know what the Whales are saying. What about what the scouts are saying? Another Brian Regan there for you. Mike, let's get into recapping the game against the Rangers. Guys, it's Patrick Corbin. What are we doing?
Right. John, immediately we had a bunch of comments and a bunch of social media tweets at us and direct messages, and they said, "Did you guys see the lineup?" And it was because Travis d'Arnaud was back in there hitting fifth. O'Hoppe was out. Now,
and I said, I don't want to see Kevin Newman in there, and Kevin Newman was in there again.
Newman's
now,
hitting ninth.
What did he have, a hit in this one?
Yeah.
And he scored the only run.
we'll get to that, but O'Hoppe was out. Now, the Angel reporters shared their thoughts on this. Sam Blum said that O'Hoppe said he would likely be playing yesterday, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't his choice that he was sitting out. He said he felt great, but there were times yesterday where he felt gassed, and so it sounded like the team was being very cautious with him. Jeff Fletcher said O'Hoppe did a workout yesterday, got fatigued pretty quickly, but he feels better today. And then Rhett Bollinger said O'Hoppe said he felt great, but wasn't in the lineup, and it wasn't his decision, but he wanted to respect the decision of Wash. He did feel gassed after a pregame workout yesterday, so he was talking about 2 days ago.
Do we have to use the word gassed when we know that he had stomach issues? Sorry, that was a layup. Come on.
So we would see O'Hoppe pinch hit in this game. We'll get to that in just a moment. But John, the bigger story was d'Arnaud is hitting fifth again. And after game one, Wash was asked by reporters if he'd move d'Arnaud out of the fifth hole when he plays because he's struggling. And Wash said, no. I mean, where? Where are you going to put him right now? d'Arnaud's a professional hitter. He'll find a way. Really? Really? And so I love this tweet from Ryan Fowler of Angels Win. He said, the Angels' number 5 spot has seen the third most plate appearances of the year entering last night's game. He added that Travis d'Arnaud, hitting fifth in the lineup with the Braves last year, had 108 plate appearances, a 692 OPS, 9 extra base hits, 22 hits, 19 RBIs, 34 Ks, a 222 average, and a 90 weighted runs created plus. When he hit 8th for the Braves last year, 64 plate appearances, had an 887 OPS with 9 extra base hits, 17 hits, 14 RBIs, 13 Ks, 288 average, and a 140 weighted runs created plus. And since we're out there sharing all the tweets from everybody, our friend Jared Timms over at Talking Halos tweeted that O'Hoppe against left-handers, he struggled in his career, 167 with a 71 weighted runs created plus last year, at least against lefties. d'Arnaud, 254 with a 146 weighted runs created plus last year against lefties. They were facing Patrick Corbin last night, who has not been great. I mean, he hasn't been great for a while, but it was the exact lineup that you and I talked about yesterday that we didn't didn't want to see. Darno at 5, Kevin Newman in there, and I guess Wash just hates us, right?
Literally just Mike and John from Locked On Angels. Mike, can I make a point here in response to a lot of comments that I saw yesterday? And it was in response to our comments about, do the Angels even want to win? And people said, well, that seems like a hot take, right? And in the context of what we're talking about, it's not so much the players on the field not wanting to win. Now, there were some things that happened in the game 2 nights ago that didn't look great when it came to how the Halos were playing. But what I'm talking about, what we're talking about in terms of, do the Halos even want to win? It's putting themselves behind the 8 ball before the game even starts.
Right.
Have Travis d'Arnaud in the middle of this lineup, has not had a great start to the season, obviously works better lower in the batting order, which we've discussed and we've talked about where his best spot in the order should be. Mike, even analytically, it doesn't make sense to have Travis d'Arnaud in that 5th spot.
No.
So there's nothing saying like, oh, Travis d'Arnaud's got to bat 5th. It's just Wash being Wash. It's just Wash being really stubborn. It's Wash going with his gut and doing that sort of thing. I'm waiting until we have another phone call from Perry Manassian.
Yeah.
Like we said the other day where, hey, Kyren Paris needs to be in this lineup every day. Stop putting Tim Anderson in the 5th spot. We're going to have that same discussion. You can't 1-for-1 swap Logan O'Hoppy's bat for Travis d'Arnaud's bat. It doesn't work. It's not going to happen. If you're worried about, I can't have a young guy in the 5th spot, that's why d'Arnaud is there, then why do you have O'Hoppy there? Because when O'Hoppy's in the 5th spot, he does great. So that excuse is out the window. But going back to the original point, talking about, do they even want to win? You can't put your team behind the 8 ball before first pitch.
Right.
And the last 2 days, they've done that by having Travis d'Arnaud in the 5th spot to protect Jorge Soler,
right?
Mike Trout, right? It doesn't make any sense to me when you have other guys, maybe Kyren Paris, who could protect Jorge Soler, maybe Nolan Shonowell, because you want to go righty-lefty in that moment. All of that to say, don't put your team down in the count before the game even starts. And then talking about, do they want to win? Why are you yanking Yusei Kikuchi in the 6th inning with 79 pitches? There's just so many things that have happened over the last 2 days that don't make any sense. And that's why we're asking the question, do they want to win? And so maybe it should be more specifically, does Wash want to win? Because I'm not seeing it and I'm not liking it right now.
Well, and then the bats were ice cold, John, and it was frustrating last night because Patrick Corbin has given up the most runs and the most hits by any starter since 2021. And it's by a large amount. It's a large amount, like almost 100 runs and 100 hits. Yeah. But the Halos just made him look like a star. He went 5 1/3. He struck out 6 Angels, lots of chases, lots of help given to Patrick Corbin. I noticed, John, as I was watching, even from the terrible angle in Arlington, that almost every splitter that Patrick Corbin threw last night was always landing below the zone. And do you know how often these Halos chased that splitter below the zone? It was almost every time it was a 3rd strike or they were making contact and grounding out. They were chasing that pitch every single time. And I knew from my couch with my wonderful pistachios in my lap, I knew that ball was not going to hit the strike zone. And they didn't. And that was so frustrating. Okay, maybe you don't know that in the first couple of innings, but by 3rd inning, 4th inning, the fact that they couldn't see that was so frustrating. And it was why these bats are so ice cold, because you can tell that they're doing what they did last year. They're pressing, they're squeezing the bat a lot harder. There's a whole lot that they're doing that they've not done in the first 12, 13 games that they've been doing in these last 2 series against the Astros and against the Rangers. You would think that these 2 teams are like the New York Yankees of the early 1920s or the Cincinnati Reds of the 1970s, right? Because the Angels just look like scared kids playing against these teams. And both teams, Houston more than Texas, they're not great. They're down this year. Houston's lost 2 games now to the Cardinals since playing us. So they're down this year. Rangers are coming off a sweep against the Mariners. So this just doesn't make sense why the Angels are so afraid are so not locked in. It just is so frustrating to watch, and watching them chase and swing and miss all night last night, or watching the pitches go straight down the middle, the fastballs that they weren't swinging at, was so frustrating to watch as a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it was Jose Soriano in this one, 1-0 record with a .93 ERA against Texas in his career. That's over 9 2/3 innings pitched. He's given up just 1 earned run and had 9 strikeouts. Last night he was okay, 5 2/3, 10 hits, which is going to happen. 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 89 pitches thrown. He was good at getting the double play ball. He had 3 on the night. Could have been 5 or 6, but Taveras was running on 2 of those, and Leota Taveras is a speedster. And what made it difficult was that the Halos didn't give him any offense. So every pitch mattered, and that's a tough way to throw because you have all this pressure on you to keep it close. And he did. 3 earned runs is not anything that the Angels shouldn't be able to overcome. Right. Now, we talked about this, Mike, with the sinker up in the zone in the third. That's when the Rangers scored all their runs. And if you lay off that sinker down in the zone and make the pitcher bring it up, then that's what's going to happen to a sinker ball pitcher. And that's what happened to Jose Soriano. The Angels finally got some offense in the top of the 6th. Kevin Newman had a single. It was only his 3rd hit of the season. Ward blooped in a double that hit the chalk line, and Adolis Garcia thought it was going to be foul, and it came back. And then Rengifo had an infield single. Newman scored from 3rd, so that made it 3-1. And then they had another great opportunity in the top of the 7th. Sean Noel had a single. Paris was hit by the pitch. Joe Adell struck out looking. I will circle back to that. Remind me. Ohapi pinch hit for Kevin Newman, hit a deep fly ball to the wall in left, but it was caught. Says it would have been a homer in 12 stadiums, but not at the Globe Life Field. Now, they were talking about, the roof being closed, and had that been open, Ohapi certainly probably could have had the distance on that one. Is that what they mean by getting roofied? Is that what they're talking about when they say that's not what they mean? Oh, okay. My bad. So, okay. So I won't say that anymore. My bad. So it was still 3-1 Rangers. Now I'm circling back to Joe Adell watching pitches down the middle. And there's a narrative out there of Joe Adell watching pitches down the middle, or these Angels watching pitches down the middle. And then there's a narrative of, why aren't they swinging at those on the first pitch? Why aren't they being aggressive? Then there's the other narrative of, why aren't they working counts? Why aren't they, making the pitcher throw a ton of pitches? Guys, everybody's doing every single thing that's out there in any variety of ways. There's some guys taking pitches. There's some guys swinging on the first pitch. Just a few days ago, we talked about Taylor Ward. Why is he always swinging on the first pitch? Well, Joe Adell probably should have swung on the first pitch. So that's, I can't have that conversation anymore, Mike, because unless you're watching every minute of every single at bat of every single game, you don't have a great grasp of, you just turn it on while you're doing the dishes and you look over and you see Taylor Ward swinging at the first pitch, and then you see Joe Adell not swinging at the first pitch. There's not a good grasp of what's going on out there. So I wanted to address that because people were asking, what are they doing up there? And that's the ultimate question is, what are they doing up there? Yeah. And they're making pitchers look really good, like Patrick Corbin. Not a great look.
Yeah. And Taylor Ward actually had a really good at bat to lead off this game. He had 8 pitches thrown to him, Johnny, and looked great. Problem is that he chased a couple of really bad pitches, and they had Patrick Corbin in the first couple of innings. He was throwing a lot of pitches. Problem is that their swing decisions were terrible in the first couple of innings, right. And they were not swinging at pitches that they should, and they were swinging at pitches that they shouldn't. Right. And that really is what it boils down to. I'm not against first pitch fastball swinging. I'm not against a really long at bat, and I'm not against working a count. Obviously, all of that is good. It's the swing decisions in the last 5 games that the Angels just have not. They've not made great decisions, and that's why this offense is cold. Because if they're working a count like Taylor Ward did to lead off this game, that's fantastic. But it's meaningless if the batter that follows him doesn't learn from the 7, 8, or 9 pitches that were thrown, and they're not communicating. Ward and Rengifo are not communicating. And even if they were, you didn't see that because Rengifo immediately came up and he was swinging at the first pitch. Mm-hmm. And then Trout was taking pitches like he does, but his swing decisions were all just not great swing decisions last night.
Yeah. Well, and in those moments, you want Trout and Soler, your big boppers, to do some damage, and neither of them could do any damage against the Rangers, and that was unfortunate. And there was a lot of hard hit stuff that just flew out to the outfielders, Mike, and that's what's going to happen. But in the top of the ninth, Soler flied out, d'Arnaud grounds out, Shawnoel lines out, looked like could have been a base hit, but it went right to Adolis Garcia out there in right field. So the Angels fall to 9-8. They're 3-5 on this road trip, and they've lost their second straight series. The best that they can do is come home either 10-8 or 9-9, coming home 500 after 15 games on the road. I don't know, Mike. Do you think that's a good place to be? Like, hey, you survived this 15 game road trip here, like, or not road trip, but 15 games away overall this season.
Not
if they came,
not if they want to be good. If they
No.
want to be good, they can't come home and go, whoo, man, made it 500. And
Right.
that's going to be the narrative. That'll be the narrative from
Right.
the guys that call the game. That'll be the narrative from the pregame show. Woo, man, 9-9. That was tough, right?
Right.
But you have a chance to be 2 games over 500 when you get home and play at home for a couple of series.
Yeah.
You have to capitalize on that. If you don't, then a lot of what we've seen the last few weeks is meaningless because you've flushed that all away.
Yeah, exactly. And they got the Giants coming to town, and the Giants are very, very good right now. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, can we get Zach Neto back, please, and hit him in the 5th spot so we can all stop talking about who Wash is putting in the 5th spot and just have that in sentence? Oh, hold on, I'll get to that conversation. We'll get into that here in just a minute.
Everydayers Amazon Fire TV brings you endless entertainment with 4K streaming. You can watch more than a million movies and TV episodes with your favorite subscribed service like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, so much more. And in addition to that, your Fire TV can also be an Xbox. You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with your Fire TV Stick 4K device. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. You can dive into all of the premium titles like EA Sports College Football 25 or Call of Duty Black Ops 6. All great games. So much fun. You can do this with your Amazon Fire TV. It's as easy as streaming it on your TV, like you're streaming your favorite TV shows. Gaming made simple, all on your Fire TV. Just head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. That's Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatibility controller is required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd generation, and Fire TV Cube, 3rd generation.
I think you just convinced me. I want to play all those games on Game Pass.
I'm in.
Speaking of games, let's talk about our friends at Game Time, making getting tickets easier than ever with last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, and this is the game I'm playing right now, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. With the Game Time Picks feature, it makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. So you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, Locked On MLB, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, and we're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Johnny, when will Zach Neto come back? We need him back. We need him back now. Jeff Fletcher tweeted this yesterday that Neto is scheduled to play a whole game at shortstop again tonight. He added that then the activation watch will officially start on Thursday, but don't be surprised if they keep him down until next Tuesday. When Wash was asked if Zach Neto could be activated today, Thursday, he said this: "We haven't discussed it, but anything's possible." I laughed at this tweet because when Jeff tweeted that out, there was a response, and the response was, "Yeah, Wash, no need to discuss it. Our offense is roaring right now."
Rip roaring hot right now, Wash. Why don't you try d'Arnaud in the 5th spot again, Wash?
Right.
See how that works out for
right.
you. Now, Rhett Bollinger tweeted that Wash said the Angels haven't discussed when Neto will return yet. There's an outside chance he could come back as soon as tomorrow or Friday's game, meaning Thursday or Friday's series opener against the Giants at Angel Stadium. Mike, remember when Zach Neto made his debut? Mm-hmm. It was because the infield was trash defensively.
Yeah.
And so they brought him up at the beginning of 2023, around this time, like mid-April, right?
Yep.
It was a quick move, and they, drafted him the previous year before. They ended up doing an even quicker move with Nolan Shonowell when they drafted him. But at the time, it was kind of unprecedented for Zach Neto to come up so quickly, but they needed him so badly. Unfortunately, he got hurt that season, and so he really broke out in 2024 rather than 2023, but they desperately needed him. And they desperately need him again. Look, this upcoming weekend, Mike, this is for you. There was a man who made a big return in 3 days. And so perhaps we can get a big return from Zach Neto.
Heck yeah.
This weekend. I would love to see that. Now, can you use that on Sunday when you
I'll
do your
Easter
and
give you copyright? Absolutely.
Okay, great.
So Zach Neto's been great at AAA. Entering last night, 45 at bats, 16 runs, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 1 stolen base, 289 batting average, 396 OPS, 622 slugging, and over 1,000 OPS. Compared that to what the Angel shortstops have done entering last night, 48 at bats, 6 runs, no homers, 3 RBIs, 1 stolen base, a 138 batting average, 180 on base percentage, 155 slugging, and a 335 OPS. That's a combination of Tim Anderson and Kevin Newman. Johnny, these numbers tell us that we need Zach Neto back in this lineup. What would even be a reason for not bringing him back immediately? Why would we not see him after Thursday night's game on Friday against the Giants at home?
Well, it would make so much sense for them to bring him home for that Giants series at the Big A. But Mike, just so that we don't trip over ourselves, about a week ago, you and I were saying, let Neto finish out his rehab assignment. The Angels are doing just fine without him right now. But now they're not.
Yeah.
Now they're not just fine, right?
Yeah. Let me push back. I remember what we said.
No, I'm
not
saying anything.
What we said is what I said. I said, as long as the Angels are doing what they're doing, it gives Zach Neto time to recover.
And they've stopped.
And they've stopped doing what they're doing. And that's why you go, okay, now let's bring him up. But isn't it so Wash-like to go, we haven't discussed it. Yeah, I'm not sure, right? And then Jeff Fletcher saying, don't be surprised if he's not back until Tuesday. Now, because the Angels have made some aggressive moves in the offseason, getting rid of some guys, Mickey Moniak being one of those guys, and DFAing people and all that stuff, I think we're going to see Neto sooner rather than later. I hope we see Neto sooner rather than later. And I also hope that Perry Manassian picks up the phone and says, Wash, you got to put him in the lineup where he belongs, which means that Wash said, I want him at 5. He said that before the season started. Put him at 5, have Ohapi at 6, and then leave it alone. And that's what you need to do. Leave it alone. If you want to move some pieces around, by all means, move some pieces around because the offense isn't great right now. Mm-hmm. But you need to have quality hitters in quality spots. And if that number 5 spot for the Angels, according to Ryan Falla of angelswin.com, that spot has had the 3rd most plate appearances, then yes, I want Zach Neto in that spot to knock in some runs and to make an impact.
Yeah, exactly. And when you think about the fact that Wash has been stubborn, I guess you could say, to start the year.
That's right.
And look, we've been joking about the fact that Perry called him up and said, you need to put Kyren Paris in this lineup. I don't care how you do it. Find a way. He's not just going to be backing up Joe Adell. He needs to be in there, right? Mm-hmm. We've been joking about that. But considering Kyren Paris has been in there every day, it feels like somebody had said, hey, Wash, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And that's the delicate balance here, Mike, because do you remember how much we had to discuss Alex Taman and Perry Manassian interfering with the likes of, Joe Maddon, right? Yeah. Joe Maddon wanted to do things his way. Obviously, the front office wanted to do things their way. Now, and that was like, guys, back off Joe Maddon. Like, let Joe do his thing, that sort of thing, right? That was kind of the consensus back when he was in charge. But then Now it almost feels like the script has flipped where
Yeah.
it's like, hey, Perry, can you get involved here? Can you make a call down to Ron Washington and have him move some pieces around? That's the weird, delicate balance that happens between a GM and their manager. And look, Perry Manassian picked Ron Washington to be his manager. It's the first manager that Perry actually got to pick because Phil Nevin was kind of a holdover from when Madden got fired. And then they were like, you know what? We're going to sell the team. Let's keep Phil Nevin on so that if anybody wants to make any changes, they can. Well, then they didn't sell the team and we got stuck with Phil Nevin for a whole year. All of that to say, Perry Manassian has trusted, I was going to say Joe Madden, has trusted Ron Washington to do the job that he wants him to do. And for the most part, Ron's done a pretty good job at that. But at this point, Perry Manassian, perhaps for the second time this season, is going to have to intervene and going to have to say something to Ron Washington. And honestly, if it's a personnel decision, Mike, in terms of when Zach Neto comes back, that's going to be up to the front office. That's not going to be up to Wash.
Right.
And he's going to make Wash play him and most likely put him in that fifth spot. So I feel like at this point, we need to see some significant changes. We need the energy. We need the pep from Zach Neto. We need that leadership from Zach Neto. We need Logan O'Hoppe and Zach Neto doing what they do well and get some fire under this team because the last two series, they have been so lackluster when it comes to their play on the field. It's lackadaisical. It's listless. It's kind of lifeless, right? So these two guys need to be back together. And Zach Neto, I think, needs to return at least by Friday, because that would be doing a huge disservice to this team if he's not back by then.
Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better place to use your sports knowledge for your benefit and get real rewards than with Prize Picks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine player across sports, all players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and so much more for a chance at 2,000 times your cash. I love that, and it's really easy to set up your lineup in 60 seconds or less. Plus, Prize Picks has really cool promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value, and the payouts are fast, safe, and secure. So download their app today. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Mike, we had a great question from Locked On Everydayer Kellen on YouTube, who reached out to us to do a Fan Mail Friday question about what MLB trade rumors had to say about Kyren Paris. And they had concerns about his swing and other stats and metrics that are there. And I feel like I responded to that well in terms of saying, well, tell the whole story, right? Because maybe this doesn't look as good as it did a year ago, but also the results and the quality of contact, all of that stuff is 100 times better than what Kyren has been doing the last few years. And even in the minor leagues, he wasn't doing that great over the last few years. Well, another MLB scout has shared his thoughts on Paris and his new swing. First, let's recap the changes that Kyren Paris has made. He's moved back in the batter's box, now further back in the box than any hitter in the majors, according to MLB tracking data. He's about 5 inches deeper in the batter's box than he was last year. He also opened his stance more. The line between his toes essentially points straight to the mound last year, but now it's about 53 degrees open. So a little bit more wider of a stance. For reference, Rafi Devers from the Red Sox is the only hitter in the majors with a more open stance. That's very interesting. Paris also squats more as he waits for the pitch. And instead of doing a small leg kick, he has what he calls a hover. Mm-hmm. The point isn't so much to generate power with the stride, but to delay the power. He wants to keep his front foot in the air to ensure that his weight stays on his back foot as long as possible so he can release max energy into his swing.
Yeah, and the results have been pretty incredible. He went into last night's game tied for the league lead in WAR and still leading the league in OPS once he gets enough at bats, which is great. The improvement has shown beyond the numbers as well. Paris has improved in his hard hit percentage, 35.3% last year to 60.7% this year. He's in the 98th percentile. He's also barreling the ball a whole lot more. 17.9 of his balls have been barreled this year. He's in the 91% percentile this season. Two concerning metrics that you brought up on Friday. His whiff rate is 41.1%. It's one of the worst in the majors. And his strikeout rate is 21.7. That's about average, but it made one scout really skeptical. He said, in watching Kyren Paris, he's not incredibly impressed, but just somewhat impressed. He says he has a wait and see attitude to see what kind of player that he becomes. First, in regards to Paris becoming a star, the scout said, as an evaluator and as a person who's seen a lot of players and been on the field myself, I can't put much weight on April. There are a lot of batters who get hot in April. They come up here, they do well, then all of a sudden the season starts to weigh on you. You can either come back to who you are, or you're just another guy. It's too early to say that this guy is going to be a stud or a star. I need a bigger sample size rather than 1 month. Now, specifically on what he's doing right now with his swing, the scout said, I see some problems. He's swinging uphill as hard as he can to make contact, and he's hitting the ball hard. I'm just not sure he can sustain it. I think pitchers will probably at some point start making adjustments, looking at swing path, and then he'll have to adjust accordingly. But right now, he's been a tough out. Now, the scout did stop short of saying that it's all a mirage. He conceded that even when Paris does cool down, there's still plenty of room below what he's doing right now to make him a productive major league player. And he also is confident that Paris is gaining confidence, and that could actually impact his swing mechanics. The scout said his energy looks a lot different in the way that he's walking around the field, that he's looking very different at the plate, and how he's swinging the bat. He said his confidence can go a long way, and he's oozing with confidence right now. So, Johnny, do you see those comments from the scout, and do you agree or do you disagree? What are your thoughts?
Let me put it this way. Was Kyren Paris even on anybody's radar to be on this team in 2025, Mike?
No,
right.
Not at all.
And for him to do what he's doing, even though it's a small sample size, even though April's not over yet, even though, yeah, let's reevaluate after April. Let's reevaluate a few months into the season. What's he doing by June? The fact is, he was not on anybody's lineup card for this season. And he has earned and scratched and clawed his way into the lineup every single day. Again, he was going to be the backup. They let Mickey Moniak go because they wanted to give Kyren Paris a chance.
Yeah.
And now he's playing second base because they need him in this lineup. I understand guys get off to a hot start. I understand that guys can look good for the first couple weeks of the season, but you have to take all the surprise and delight and, the highest OPS once he's qualified. You got to take all that away and just understand that this guy made fundamental changes to his swing. He went above and beyond, sought somebody out over the offseason because he knew he was never going to be a consistent major leaguer. And now he has his chance to be a consistent major leaguer. And yeah, are pitchers going to adjust? Of course. That's baseball. That's baseball 101. They adjust to you, you adjust back, yada, yada, yada,
right.
Vice versa. We've seen it with Mike Trout. Pitchers always adjust to Mike Trout. Mike Trout has to adjust back. That's been his entire career. So all of that to say, this isn't shocking. This isn't surprising. This isn't anything that I don't think that we would not be discussing down the road. But the fact is, the fact that Kyren Paris is here at all is the biggest story of the season for him and for the Halos. Because again, he wasn't on anybody's radar. Nobody had him play in the infield. Nobody had him on this roster to start the year. Nobody certainly thought that Mickey Moniak was going to get let go so that Kyren Paris could be here. It was going to be a platoon with Moniak and Joe Adell. That didn't happen. And so they have made lots of, I don't want to say concessions, but they've made compromises to get Kyren Paris on this roster. So I understand where scouts are coming from. I still contend that people freaking out about whiff rate. Right. He's taking more chances in the zone. He's swinging at more balls in the zone. And maybe he's missing those pitches. But is it strike three? Is that the problem? Because if it's not, swing away, Merrill, right? I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Like, let Kyren Paris do his thing, because so far it's working out pretty great for him.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. You can find the show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and also give us a follow at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Get in the comments section, and we'll do our best to respond to you. Mike, what do we have on deck for Friday's show?
John, we're going to recap the game, the final game. Hopefully it's a win for the Halos, but I'm in a fighting mood. So you know what we're going to do? The first two segments on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about if the Mets fixed Griffin Canning, and we're going to talk about how Mickey Moniak's doing because the Angels shouldn't have let him go. We're going to talk about that, and it's going to be a beautiful show because it's going to be, well, you're just going to have to listen tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, the Dodgers put 6 on the Rockies in the first inning last night. So I'm sure Mickey's having a great time in Colorado. All right, friends, we hope you have a good one, and you'll join us on tomorrow's show. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Feeling feisty. I need to calm down.
I had some zingers tonight.
You did. Dad jokes.